But sometimes, and not very frequently, Keith Allen makes mistakes in the control room. And it's because I haven't finished my coffee here. That would be a nice segue for an endorsement, but we're not going to do that. But here we go. This is a little edumacation for you. And this happens to do with bald eagles. You don't want to shoot them. You don't want to capture them. You don't want to eat them. I mean, these are all things that you shouldn't do. And a Virginia man had to learn his lesson because he admitted to shooting a bald eagle and then running it over several times with an all-terrain vehicle. What happened to the man? He was sentenced to a month of house arrest on Monday. It's not the worst thing, I guess, that could happen to somebody. Alan Thacker, 62. But he was also ordered to complete 100 hours of community service in an area wildlife refuge. Yes, there we go. Sticky mouth today. To pay $500 in fines along with $1,500 in restitution. So $1,500, 100 hours of community service at the wildlife refuge. And he had to be on house arrest. So it's just not worth it killing these. They're beautiful animals here. A woman was driving on a road in Smithfield in March when she said that she witnessed this man, Alan Thacker, who was driving an ATV vehicle over a bald eagle. The woman was telling authorities of the incident, and the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries opened an investigation. According to the Virginian, Thacker pleaded guilty in July to violating the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. So there is a protection act for these bald eagles, by the way. It's not just in Virginia. Now, what he told the officers, he killed the eagle in March because he had seen the bird killing small game and eating fish on his property. Small game and eating fish. Well, isn't that what they do? Thacker said the eagle was a menace, and too much emphasis was put on the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. He had to apologize, and he apologized to the court before being sentenced. He said his family has received a number of death threats following the incident. He says, "I'm truly sorry for what I have done. I will not make the same mistake again." Half of the fine is going to go to the woman who reported the crime, while the restitution is going to go to the North American Wetlands Conservation Fund's account. What a moron. I mean, geez. I mean, these are majestic creatures, and they're gorgeous. Yeah, they stop by the local 7-Eleven, and that's where they get their food. Where else are they going to get their food from? They eat fish. They're going to eat small animals, whatever way that they can get nourishment. That's what they do. What an idiot. And thank God for the woman courageous enough to call it in, but just what an awful thing to do. Geez, come on, guy, what a moron. Death threats. I don't know if that's a little bit too far, but there are some people, man, I've met, man, they're crazy about animals. And I love animals, don't get me wrong. I have two. Yeah, my kids. No. Yeah, 3 daughters, 2-step, 1 biological, but they're all my daughters. Beautiful. But I have 2 others, and they're 2 female. There's Shih Tzu and a Chihuahua. Winnie is the Chihuahua, and Aurora is the name of the Shih Tzu. I had to think for a second here because I do have some affectionate names for them. And if you have to know, I call one Dumb and the other one's Dumber after the movie Dumb and Dumber because it's true. They really are morons. I love them, though, and we take great care of them, and they take great care of us. And I tell you, pets, you got to have something. They're just they're wonderful animals. Yeah, there's a little maintenance involved. You got to bathe them. You got to clip them. The Shih Tzu, man, she's high maintenance. You got to take her in to get her hair cut, and I don't want to dare, cut her hair because they have real hair. So, yeah, the Shih Tzus do. They're absolutely beautiful, but she's like a sheep. Man, she gets too fluffy. So, at least every 5-6 months, and then she looks like a rat until it grows back, and then, it's time to go back in. By the way, the little relief here, I'm taking a big breath today, and you should too. Kid Rock is not going to run for the U.S. Senate. And I'm sorry if you were a Kid Rock fan, but he announced today that he's not going to be running for the U.S. Senate in Michigan. His real name, by the way, Kid Rock, Robert Ritchie. He's telling Howard Stern, he was on his program on The Fan, and he says he decided to stay out of politics. Blanking, no. I'm not running for Senate, Kid Rock was telling Stern, and, you can get away with that language on Howard Stern's program because it's on XM Sirius Radio. And according to the Detroit Free Press, who couldn't figure that out, the rocker said, mulling over a Senate run was the worst advice I had ever gave myself, but it's been the most creative thing I've ever done, he said, and I've gotten to see everyone's true colors. That's revealing because politics really does open up folks to who they are, what they are, and how they present themselves or present their candidate. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they sell themselves out or they're behind a candidate for the money and they don't believe in it. It's always helpful, I guess, if you're supportive of somebody that you believe in. But politics is definitely ugly, very dirty. And if you don't believe me, watch Scandal on NBC. That's pretty, wow. That's pretty close, seriously, if you've never watched Scandal on ABC. It's an amazing. This season's it's heated up. It's been around for I think it's like season 7. Been around for several years. Olivia Poe. Need I say more? It Fitz is back. If you're a big fan, yes, he's back. You got to catch up if you haven't caught up yet. The drama, the intrigue. it's really, and God. Who creates these sets on television? They are absolutely amazing because the replicas, seriously, of the Oval Office, the West Wing, the White House in general, they have it down. You think you're right there. It is crazy. Seriously, check it out. If you haven't watched it here, it's not an endorsement, but I guess it is because I watch it. But it's fascinating. It really is. But that will really give you a good taste. And I was introduced to Hillary Rotten Clinton back in 95 about how you could wield your power from Washington and destroy people. And my boss was destroyed, taken out, one of the most listened to guys in America. And I will keep on talking about it because it's part of my history. And it's part of some of your history because you were big fans of Chuck Harder, who was the third most listened to guy, according to Talkers Magazine, to Rush Limbaugh. And just to think, wow, I sit in the chair now hosting For the People. Different day, different show, but it was history nevertheless. And to read that letter from her hand saying that I want him off immediately and I want Jim Hightower, the leftist from Austin, Texas, need I say more, on the air immediately. He was ripped off the air just that quick. And he was the Mickey Mouse of Disneyland, if you will, for the network that he built. And it all fell to hell. But many people believe it was a big setup. Yeah. Big story. You can read about it if you're interested. WorldNet Daily has an article that's called Silenced. And you can just put it in Google, Silence/Chuck Harder, Harder, and you can read about it. A huge article. And this article has been viewed over billions of times. Chuck was that popular. Millions and millions of people knew him. But he built the first all-news talk network, PRN, the People's Radio Network. and it was ran out of a turn-of-the-century hotel, the Telford Hotel on the banks of the Swanee River. And what a really neat place, because William Taft and several other presidents stayed. I mean, many presidents stayed at that time back in the 20s, the roaring 20s. North Florida was the vacation mecca. Believe it or not, movies were shot, in that part of Florida, because the railroad took you there. And they had the healing white springs where people came and they bathed. And, they have folklore, and the Stephen Foster Memorial still set up there in White Springs. But, man, if you want to take a step back in time, literally, we talked about Jamestown several weeks ago about how that feels that way. But White Springs, man, and it's one of those towns where you got the old general store in the old church, and I mean, they haven't changed. I mean, if you were dead, buried, back in the 1800s, and you should become awake, all of a sudden you got up. I mean, I'm in White Springs. I mean, some things have changed. We got asphalt, but other than that, it's old Florida for you, and everything just kind of slows down. It's kind of nice, As I've gotten older, I've appreciated these parts in our country where it's serene. You can actually take a breath and breathe a little bit. And I'm getting ready to announce a seminar that's coming up in Atlanta, but I love parts of Georgia and up in the mountain area going towards Tennessee. Man, it is gorgeous. It's going to be nice to get out of town a little bit. And if you're interested, I'll give you some more information about this seminar coming up, but it has to do with voiceover, and I have a voiceover business that I run. But anybody wanting to break into the voiceover business, ihaveagoodvoice.com is my company. ihaveagoodvoice.com. It'll take you to 57th Street Media, the parent company. And we help people break into the voiceover industry and identify niche areas for folks that are wanting to do commercials or narration or audiobooks. That's a new one. Or intelligent voice recognition, which is something like, "Thanks for calling Bank of America. If you know your account number, you may enter it now." You can ask me anything like, for example, "Where's the nearest ATM?" So, anyways, kind of cool, but that'll be coming up probably the 18th in Centennial Park at the Embassy Suites at Ruth Chris. They have a nice meeting space there, meeting room right outside of CNN Center. Yeah, I should drive by. Yeah, I should probably just go into the building and say, "Hey, let me give you some real news here." Speaking of CNN, they have this this new promos basically saying that their credibility, they're not fake news, we're real news, exists. And they use it's a great commercial, by the way, but it is the Apple. And you can trust in them. And the sad thing is that the commercial actually is good, besides it being actually not meant for them. It's meant for some other network, but pretty funny. I should grab the audio and then we'll play it probably on tomorrow's show. I'm gonna search it out. But anyways, you got to check it out for yourself, and we'll make it available for you. But it's just kind of funny. Because, the president's been calling him out on it. The fake news network, CNN, trying to gain some credibility because their ratings are really bad. Speaking of ratings, I think Megyn Kelly is feuding with Matt Lauer there in the Today Show, and they're not getting along. No love fest whatsoever, and she might get fired. The ratings are horrible. The ratings all the way around NBC are horrible. Besides their shows, their newscasts, they're just, people don't trust it. Brian Williams, I think, started a lot of this stuff. But the liberal newscasts are just, they're horrible. And people are not watching news like they once used to. They don't do it anymore. They're seeking out Yahoo News, online sources that plug your brain and give you the slanted news unless you search out credible news sites, which I look all the way around just to see what the left's doing, what the right's doing. I use several different sources, from the Drudge Report,